My name is Max, and I am a police dog. People often think of us as perfectly obedient, following every order without hesitation. But the truth is that sometimes loyalty means more than obedience. Sometimes it means protecting the people you love, even when they don't understand. That truth would only become clear one night, a night I will never forget, when I refused my handler's command. In that instant, every officer thought I had gone mad. Disobedience for a K9 is no small thing. It can mean being retired, being labeled unreliable, even being replaced. But I knew something no one else could sense. My refusal was not weakness, it was warning, and what I did in those few seconds ended up saving my entire unit. I still remember the gasps, the shouting, the disbelief, but I remember something else more clearly. The look in my handler's eyes when he realized why I had done it. I wasn't always trusted in the force. When I first joined the K9 unit, the officers whispered about me. Some said I was too stubborn, too wild, too scarred by my past to ever be a true partner. They were not entirely wrong. I had already lost one handler before Daniel. My first human partner died in a shootout, and I was there, helpless, watching his life slip away while my own body shook with fear and pain from a wound I carried home. After that, the world felt darker. My heart grew colder. I could follow commands because training demanded it, but I stopped connecting with the men who tried to work with me. I could smell their frustration, hear it in their voices when I ignored their gestures, but I didn't care. Trust felt dangerous, and I was tired of losing the people I loved. Then Daniel Walker arrived. He was new to the force, young but determined, a man with eyes that didn't look at me like I was just a tool. He saw me differently, though at first I didn't understand why. I was broken, damaged, carrying a reputation that made others avoid me. But Daniel insisted on being paired with me. "Give me Max," he told the supervisors. They warned him, told him I was trouble, that I had pushed away every handler since my loss. But he stood firm, his voice calm and confident. "I'll make it work." And so, for better or worse, I became his partner. At first, I rejected him like I had the others. When he offered his hand, I turned away. When he spoke to me in training, I ignored his voice. He gave commands, and I obeyed slowly, reluctantly, never with the eager energy other dogs showed. He deserved a partner who would love him, but I refused to risk my heart again. Still, Daniel didn't give up. Day after day, he came to me. When the other officers left the training grounds, Daniel stayed. He sat by my kennel, sometimes speaking softly, sometimes saying nothing at all. At night, when the station was nearly empty, he walked with me, just the two of us, his hand resting lightly on the leash without pulling, letting me decide the pace. He treated me not like a weapon, not like a disappointment, but like a soul in pain. Then one night, everything shifted. We were called to search for a missing child in the woods. It was cold, dark, and the trees crowded close, swallowing the light from our flashlights. I could hear Daniel's heart racing as he pushed through the underbrush, stumbling at times but never slowing down. He called my name, not with the sharpness of command, but with the raw urgency of a man desperate to save a life. The child's scent reached me faintly on the wind. Fear, sweat, the salt of tears. And I followed it until we found him curled under a fallen tree, shivering and crying. Daniel knelt quickly, wrapping his jacket around the boy, his own arms trembling. He didn't stop to worry about scratches on his face or mud on his uniform. He cared only for the child. That moment pierced the walls around my heart. For the first time since losing my first partner, I felt something stir inside me. That night back at the station, I curled up at Daniel's feet, and instead of pushing me away, he let me rest there. I remember him smiling down at me, his eyes soft with relief, and I knew then I could trust him. From that moment, Daniel and I were inseparable. We trained harder than anyone, pushed each other beyond our limits, and learned each other's rhythm. When he raised his voice, I knew if it meant danger or urgency. When I barked once, short and sharp, he understood it was a signal, not noise. Together, we stopped robbers who thought they could hide in alleyways. We tracked down fugitives who thought they could outsmart the police. We uncovered drugs buried deep inside hidden compartments that no human nose could detect. Each success made our bond stronger. Daniel began to trust my instincts as much as his own, and I began to see him not just as a handler, but as my brother. Still, even with all we accomplished, I never forgot the whispers of doubt from the others. They still called me stubborn sometimes, said I was unpredictable, but Daniel defended me always. "He's not broken," he would say. "He just sees things differently." I wanted to prove him right. I wanted to show him that his faith in me was not misplaced. And when the night came that would test us both, I held on to that bond with everything I had. It was during a raid on an old warehouse. The air was heavy with dust, the walls groaning with age, and somewhere inside a gang was waiting, armed, reckless, and desperate. The briefing had warned us of danger, but none of us expected how bad it would be. Our unit moved in, weapons ready, boots crunching softly against the floor. My ears twitched at every sound, the scurry of rats, the faint hum of machinery, the nervous breathing of officers who knew this could be their last night alive. Daniel's voice cut through the silence, firm and commanding. "Max, forward. Clear the hall." I had always obeyed him until that moment. As my paws touched the floor ahead, a sharp scent filled my nose. Metal. Oil. The acrid tang of explosives buried just beneath the boards. My instincts screamed at me to stop. My muscles tensed, refusing to go further. Daniel repeated the order, sharper this time, his voice echoing in the wide hall. I dug my claws into the ground, barking furiously, pulling back with all the force in my body. I could feel the confusion ripple through the men behind us. To them, it looked like failure. A dog refusing his handler's command. Daniel's voice grew urgent, frustrated, but I would not move. Something terrible lay ahead, and if they stepped forward, it would be the end of us all. The tension hung in the air, thick as smoke. And then, in the very next heartbeat, the floor ahead erupted. A blast roared through the hall, fire tearing the air apart, shrapnel ripping through wood and stone. Officers stumbled back, coughing, shouting, their faces pale with shock. The trap had been waiting, hidden perfectly, right where Daniel had ordered me to go. If I had obeyed, we would have walked straight into death. I stood firm, my chest heaving, my ears ringing from the explosion, but I had done what needed to be done. And in that moment, the officers around me realized the truth. I hadn't failed. I had saved them. Daniel dropped to his knees in the smoke-filled hall, his hands trembling as they reached for my collar. His voice was hoarse, shaken, not the steady tone of command I had always known, but a whisper full of disbelief. "Max, you saved us." Around us, the other officers staggered back from the blast zone, coughing, blinking through dust, some clutching at their ears. I stayed still, my chest heaving, my body vibrating with the aftershock of what had just happened. My refusal, the act that had almost cost me my place in the unit, had spared them all from certain death. I could feel the weight of what had just passed, the understanding dawning on every human in that room. A dog had defied orders, and because of that, they were alive. For a long moment, no one spoke. The silence was broken only by the distant groans of the warehouse walls, weakened by the explosion. I glanced at Daniel, my eyes searching his face, trying to read if he was angry, ashamed of me, or proud. Then I saw it, the flicker of realization, the softening of his jaw, the way his hand rested on my neck, not with force, but with gratitude. He understood. Finally, he understood. It was not disobedience. It was instinct. It was love. It was survival. After that night, things were different. I noticed it in the way the officers looked at me. Where before there had been doubt, whispers about my stubbornness, now there was respect. They no longer muttered that I was broken or too difficult to handle. Instead, they spoke of me as if I was more than a dog, something between soldier and guardian. But for me, the only opinion that mattered was Daniel's. He stood taller when he spoke of me. His voice carried pride when he told others about what had happened. He called me his partner, his equal, his brother. That word stayed with me because it was true. We were bound together now, not just by training, but by survival. The days after the warehouse raid were heavy. Some officers were injured by flying debris, though none fatally. The city quieted down for a while, gangs scattering like shadows after the blast drew too much attention to their activities. I healed quickly. Dogs always do. But Daniel carried something deeper in his eyes. At night when we patrolled, I caught him glancing at me often, as though he was reliving the moment when I had pulled him back. Sometimes he would reach down absent-mindedly and scratch behind my ear, his hand lingering longer than before. It was as if he was reassuring himself that I was still there, still real, still watching over him. I came to realize something in those days. Loyalty is not blind. It is not the kind of obedience that follows every word, no matter the cost. True loyalty means seeing what others cannot, protecting even when it means being misunderstood, risking punishment, risking rejection. That night in the warehouse had taught me that my purpose was not just to follow, but to guard. Daniel may have been my handler by rank, but in my heart, he was my brother, my family, and family is worth everything. Months passed and word of what happened spread through the precinct. Stories grew larger with every telling, some officers swearing I had predicted the blast minutes before it happened, others saying I dragged Daniel out with my teeth just before the floor went up in flames. The truth was simpler. I trusted my instincts, and Daniel trusted me, even if it took him a moment too long. But in the end, we saved each other. He gave me back my faith in humans, and I gave him back his life. It was a bond that no explosion, no danger, no doubt could ever break. I am Max. I am a police dog. And the night I refused orders, I saved my unit.